Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to OWC 2022 semifinals weekend. We're rolling on into a Saturday night full of OSU this evening. We've got several matches for your viewing pleasure. Going to be starting off in just a second here with Canada versus Australia in the losers bracket. Sure to be a very exciting matchup between top two teams. I'm this one guy. Joining me tonight, the commentary duo to the Grave Chillier pair. Mr. Pair, good evening. What are your thoughts? Canada, Australia.
Good evening, Mr. T1G. I am very excited for this match. I feel like I say that, and you could say that about a lot of these semifinals matches. You start to get up to, these top 8 teams in these final few weekends of the tournament. And this is a matchup that I don't think many people were expecting to see this week. You had Canada versus South Korea last week, ended up in a 5-6 loss for Canada in very unfortunate fashion and tiebreaker. South Korea moving on, of course, and Australia also taking a tiebreaker loss to Romania, who unfortunately fell to China earlier today, 3-6. So now we're looking at this 4th to 6th seed matchup in the losers bracket semifinals, which is not something that I don't think many people wanted to see, nor did we expect to see given the caliber of these two teams. So really looking for a big performance from Australia to prove to us why they have made it this far in the losers bracket, beating out Japan and the Philippines. Now coming this week to Canada, who is, I think, kind of one of the favorites to, get top 3 this year, potentially.
Yeah, this is a really interesting spot, I think, for these two teams. Coming off of last week, Australia back-to-back wins in losers bracket, kind of riding high on that with a couple quality victories over Japan and over the Philippines. In Canada, I'm really curious to see what their performance ends up being like today. When you lose from 5-2 up, taken all the way back to tiebreaker, and then end up losing the tiebreaker in really dominant fashion, might I add. The mental state after that, even a week later, is something that, for some teams it's good, and for some teams it's bad. Some teams can overcome that adversity, and some teams, just say, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. They get really down. So it's going to be a tough ask. I think we'll have to see what Canada's made of mentally, as well as what their performance looks like this week, because I think they had some underperformances, some mispicks, some not as good of rosters for some maps as they could have had. And that all kind of contributed to that comeback win for South Korea. So it's going to be a tough one. I think both these teams really, really want to win. Both these teams probably feel like they can win. I think Canada is arguably the favorite because they do have the depth of roster, but Australia's got MREC, and that's, that ace up your sleeve, that you really can't ever count out.
Yeah, that's the big thing for Australia. If they have MREC awake and ready to go for their matches, key awake and ready to go, then he is obviously the biggest portion of their team on a lot of these late stage matches. When you have a player that can come out and full combo, borderline full combo some of the hardest maps in the pool because they're just that good at the game, it's a massive help, and it's something that we see with Poland too, with players like Malashevsky, where they can kind of come out and just rock it and give their team that inherent advantage. I guess some statistics to back up what you were mentioning earlier, at least about Canada being the favorites in this match. Current predictions for each team to win this match: 13.8% of a total of about 1,130 votes thinks that Australia will win, as opposed to 86.2% of those 1,100 plus votes think that Canada is going to win this match. So based on community input, they agree with you. Canada are the favorites for this one, but we have yet to see a map played. We don't want to make any of these early assumptions. Australia, unfortunately, banning out that Hidden 2. I know a lot of people are really eager to see the Hidden 2 this week. We're starting to get to the weeks where Hidden 2 starts to get a little bit out of the range of most non-reading players.
Yeah, I think the picks and bans for this match going in were kind of crystallized. It's kind of another matchup like earlier today we saw with Russia versus France, right? Where there's a team that's very good and has been picking a ton of speed, and then there's a team that is a little more well-rounded in their picks in Canada here. So Australia really got by last week picking nothing but speed. Like, every map that they picked in those two matches was a left-hand, a tapping-focused map. And so you see Canada coming out and just saying, all right, we're going to ban DT1, we're going to ban Free Mod 2, two super tapping heavy maps. And then Australia, the opposite direction. You know, they're saying, we want to play those mechanics, we want to avoid giving Canada gimmick maps, and they go ahead and ban out Nomad 5 Hidden 2. I feel like really no surprises there with any of those bans. It's been pretty consistent. I feel like you're going to ban Free Mod 2 and then one of those first 3 DTs if you're a team that's doesn't want to give your opponents tapping maps, and basically that's exactly what happened here. And then Insta Hidden 1, like, they're ready to go for Canada. They want some hidden aim, and they are going to get it with the first map of the match.
Listen, I think I like to call this strategy from Canada Zoodinator Go Kill. And am I allowed to say that on Twitch? Someone bleep that out.
Sure, TOS might not be the biggest fan of that one.
Well, either way, I think that Zoody is kind of, one of the biggest reasons that Canada would want to go for the kind of the start of the Hidden 1 at the beginning of this match. They have such a good Hidden roster across all 8 players, I think, for, most cases on this team. And then when you add in that kind of X factor of Zoodinator, who this is her skill set, hidden aim at this level and this style of map is something that she is very good at. It gives you an awesome opportunity to open up this match with a pick that you potentially have a guaranteed FC on if Zoody is playing well, and 3 very good backing scores to go with it. Australia, on the other hand, while not generally regarded as a super strong hidden roster, they don't normally have players that kind of come out and rock hidden as a main any of these years. They do have a lot of players that have hidden on with Hard Rock or DT or anything, and that is enough to give some of these players a pretty good command over the mod itself. But you can already see they're having a little bit more trouble kind of fielding that full 4 here at the beginning.
And one thing interesting to point out about Hidden 1 between these two teams, so both of them played it at least once last week, once each, in fact. Canada had the top score in the entire round on last week's Hidden 1 at 3.3 million. Australia had the second best score on last week's Hidden 1 out of the 14 times it was played, but they were 700k lower. They got 2.6 million. That is a big gap from 1 to 2 across an entire week of OWC play. A lot of teams that were very good played that map, and only Canada was able to get a really solid score on that HD1. So it really goes to show just how strong they are on this type of pick. I mean, like you said, Zoodinator is probably the best Hidden 1 player in the game right now, and the rest of their roster, no slouches either between Xylus, Rupertian, and Ryuke. So this is a very, very Canada favorite first pick. I like them coming out, just being ready to go with this one.
Yeah, she definitely sits up there, and I think there's a reason we're talking about it so much is because it is time and time proven again that it's that impressive, but there's almost that roster of hidden players where, like, if you see them in for a Hidden 1 map, you should be terrified. You have the Zoodinators, you have the Taquitos, you have the Malashevskis, all these players that, and all the ones I'm forgetting too, that are gonna pop in for these teams that will just rock you on a Hidden 1. And 4 minutes of consistency-based, higher BPM Hidden 1. This is almost 230 BPM on these semifinals Hidden 1 here. So you're really starting to ramp up the intensity with that. And that is, that's kind of another key point of something that might give Australia a small in on this is they have a very capable, faster mechanics roster. And, maybe some of Canada's players will be caught off guard more so you could make that argument than that, but I don't expect too much here. It's going to be Xylus and Vivace. Also, Doomy and Ryuke trading some breaks here at the beginning. Everyone just getting used to the map. Looks like one more set of breaks for Australia at the beginning here on one player.
Yeah, that's several breaks. I mean, 4 of the FC's already gone before we even get to 200 combo in. The intro kind of starts at you pretty quick. It throws you right in the map. There is an early break from Emrek. Was asleep until very, very shortly before this match, so is unlikely to be properly warmed up at this point in time. You can see that on a couple of uncharacteristic early breaks and act drop further for him. We'll see what happens over the course of the match. I'm sure he will be able to warm up, but right now not really ready. And there's a break from LR7, so that is all of the FCs gone from Australia. Meanwhile, guess who? Zudinator herself holding the full combo down for Canada, and Ryuke in hot pursuit, only 70 combo behind her. Going to take a decent lead here early on for Canada because Australia just really is not having a great time of this.
Really, honestly, nobody besides Zudinator is having a super good time of this. Rupertian really the only one here that's starting to get a little bit more comfortable on this pick here. But, we say things for good reason here. And Zudinator, this is kind of Canada's game on these faster hidden mechanics maps, is that, while you have all of these players in the lobby, there's 8 players in the lobby right now, and all of them are extremely skilled, very talented mechanics players who can, take a great command of any of these picks here. But the consistency is where it counts, and Zudinator has that consistency. That's Canada's game on hidden ones here. Rupert doing a great job to build up a combo right now just to make sure that Australia's supporting scores now don't mean anything. And Canada is going to continue to pull it here. Emmerich finding some misses just for lack of warm-up, I would assume, if he is recently waking up. Accuracy's in favor of Canada as well.
Yeah, I mean, halfway through, you can pretty much call this one already. Zudinator, takes on 2 players from Australia on her own, to say nothing of the rest of the Canada roster that now has Ryuke and Rupertian on those solid backing scores. This is what happens when you have more than 2 maps that your team isn't great at, but you only have 2 bans. If you're looking at Australia, right? They had to ban out Hidden 2. They wanted, can't double ban the Hidden Pool, so go with the Nomad 5 as the other ban. And at that point, it's just there's going to be something that's basically a GG angle, and that's looking like it's this Hidden one here. This was like we said before, it's the expected first pick, and they're performing as such. This is what you know and love from Canada, like hidden aim, and they're just running away with it. This is going to be a very, very one-sided win, but it's not really going to say all that much because this is just a skill set for them that's really strong and one that's not that strong for Australia.
Yeah, they didn't look too good at the beginning of the map, but they've done a great job of kind of figuring it out towards the ending here. Rupert is going to find a little bit of a later break, but not before he has put up 500,000 plus score here. Ryuke all the way up at 850 combo. Xylus now pushing 500. Couple breaks on the side of Australia. And Canada with, a little bit lower, obviously, of a team score than they had last week on the hidden one. Nothing crazy compared to what that was, but still very, very respectable. Going to look to put up close to that 2.5 million here. Ryuke and Zudinator are going to bring it into the beginning. This is what you expect from country's first picks here. You want both sides to come out with their first pick of the match and do really well on it because, you kind of expect to lose the other team's picks in these tournament matches. And Zudinator going to pull out the FC into the start of this pick. And now we go into Australia, who's going to try and do the exact same thing that Canada just did. They're going to try and pick something that pretty much shuts Canada out from potentially winning the map and get themselves on the board.
It's going to be, I think, tough here for Australia early on because Emmerich needs to get warmed up. 288k bottom score from him is obviously not what you would want and not what you would ever normally get. Also, Zudinator Ryuke 2v4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a thing that happened. 1.3 million. Actually, Canada was
Zudi and anyone.
Canada was 10,000 points away from winning by a larger margin than Australia's total score.
They won by 1.3 mil. They could have 2v4'd on any pair.
Yeah. So just to back up the explanation of how good a pick that was for Team Canada, that I think kind of says it all. So here's the thing now: if you're Australia, right, you have your best player clearly not super ready to go, needs some time. Do you hold your good picks and go something risky early because you're not going to get your best performances? Or do you still think okay, we're picking our best maps early just in the hopes of, being able to pull off a good score even if we're not 100% ready to go?
Yeah, that is kind of a big question for Australia because, I think it's kind of 50-50 with them sometimes. Australia has a really good kind of depth in their roster that is overshadowed a lot of the time because people focus so much on the effect that Emmerich has on the roster. And by no means do I want to belittle the performance that any other player on the Australian team can put up here or that Emmerich normally does, but there are certain days where MREC is the difference between Australia being the level of a team that they are, and there are days where MREC is not that difference maker. And Australia needs to figure out really quickly if today is either one of those days and fast. Because if it's a day where their players are all playing well, and they're confident in their picks and they know exactly what to do, they won't need MREC for the first few picks of this match. They'll have at least one or two things in the pool that they can play by themselves. And that gives MREC a chance to warm up, and then they can maybe start to slot in some of the stuff that we expect to see when MREC is into the lobby. So, you know, fingers crossed for Australia for their first pick almost, where it's like, do they have that roster today? Is everyone feeling good? Is everyone ready to go? Or is, you know, are you just kind of telling MREC to suck it up and warm up in match?
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to give him some time because he is in for this, but it's a very long, very slow map. So, you know, it's like 4 minutes and 20 seconds where he can just kind of casually groove a little bit. Much slower map than the hidden one that we just played, or at least slower feeling. I mean, it's 210 BPM still, but it's a lot more about like slider aim instead of raw aim and tapping. So, I mean, he'll be in for everything, but this is, like, extending out that time. I don't actually like this as a first pick for Australia, if I'm being honest, under normal circumstances. I think maybe the situation just dictates, hey, we need to do something that's not going to be one of those picks we feel like we have to win. We're going to go with one of our more risky picks, because similarly to Hidden 1, Canada is really good at free mod 1 maps because they have a roster that will just have comfortable mod players who are really good at consistency maps. I mean, like, Zudinator can probably drop HDHR in on this if she wants and just go ham, kind of similarly to the Hidden 1 that we just saw. So this is, I think, Australia saying we're going to go risky pick early and see if we can't get it together over the course of a couple picks here to start the match off before we really need to start winning our own picks.
Yeah, this is an interesting start for Australia here. You know, we wish them the best on their first pick of the match here. Obviously, no overmodding going on for Australia here. A little bit of overmodding on Zudinator running the hidden hard rock for their team. But Australia, you know, kind of opening up with a pretty aim-oriented free mod here at the beginning. You know, while, again, this is a team that is pretty mechanics favored, there's a lot of other areas of mechanics that you can focus on besides aim, and aim is something that Canada is very good at a lot of the time here. So maybe the awkward nature of this map will give Australia some advantage. We know players like Doomy are very good at these, you know, kind of closer to AR9 aim picks, and here very consistent at them. Has been one of the best players on the Australian roster alongside MREC this year. Milo saying right before this that he was playing on a friend's setup. I'm not sure how much truth there is to that, but he does find the first break on the side of Australia. Ryuke found one pretty early for Canada, so it's going to be slight advantage to them, but nothing massive here for a 4-minute plus pick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why he would feel the need to lie about that. So I'm gonna just
not warm and making excuses. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, the only person I'm really expecting to not be warm is MREC, as we talked about. But we'll see. Like you said, you know, this map is such an antithesis because it's just like, I don't want to be rude, but it's kind of bland, right? It's just this basic sort of slider aim, especially for the no-mod players. So it's kind of saying we're just going to be chill here for a while, and it lets you build up a ton of combo. I don't know. I don't really like super long maps like this, I'm not gonna lie. But
I mean, the song isn't particularly exciting, but you know, the mapping is fun. There's big sliders and high velocity.
Yeah, and you know, the players are comfortable with it clearly across the lobby. The only breaks are those early misses from Ryuke and Milo. No other breaks anywhere as of yet. I do like Australia having Milo on their roster for maps like this, as he immediately breaks it the second I said that. Milo dabbles in a little bit of slider aim with Hard Rock, so I do think he's a good shout for this map, but of course the break
apparently Zudinator does too. Oh goodness. I think that suffix break was kind of an unfortunate spot for Australia here. You know, you hear people talk about it a lot of the time. You run the double no-mod, and you want those no-mod players to come through and put up the high scores, because obviously it's most of the time an easier route than taking Hidden or Hard Rock on most free mods here. So, the fact that Australia has dropped one of those no-mod combos is not amazing for them. But with Xylus, Rupert, and Ryuke breaking, it's going to start to not matter really quickly, as Canada now has one FC only going up against Australia's 2.
That's a really bad place to miss right in the middle there. We know how hard that caps out your score with the double FC on Doomy and Emrek. Plus, Suffix and Milo both recovering some combo. That lead is going to start to come back over. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be like a big shock if Australia win this, since it is their own first pick. But the way this map started out, it does feel like a little bit of a surprise that they're able to maybe make a comeback here in the back half of the pick.
Looking a little bit better on the consistency for Australia towards the ending here. Really able to maintain that confidence here. Emrek, despite not being warmed up, looks a lot better on this than he did on the previous pick, regardless of what score he ends up with. Significantly improved from that first one there. Just needed a little bit of Hidden to get into the swing of things. Decided to stick it out here, and Milo and Suffix both recovering from their unfortunate kind of like matching break there towards the ending, which is really helping to neutralize some of these combo buildups from Canada. Maybe a little bit slower now, but Rupert does trade Milo's break here, which does favor Australia.
Yeah, you've got that little bit of mod advantage thanks to Zudinator, but those late breaks from Rupert and Ryuke, even with Milo breaking, you've got Doomy and Emrek still holding Suffix breaks, but the combo advantage is still on Australia's side. They will maintain that lead. Oh dear, Emrek breaking there. Zudinator has the mod advantage, and now they have combo advantage as well. It goes right back over, and that's going to be a stole. What?
Suffix traded though. No.
It spin to win, spin to win, spin to win. And Canada holds on. What was that ending? 9,000 points the final margin. I don't understand what we just saw at the end there, because it looked like it was just going to go to Canada, and then they kind of trolled because Xylus, I don't know if he thought the map was over, so he started running in smoke. That was very, very strange to see, but Canada managed to hold on anyway.
Man, that was going to be so close. Xylus's break at the ending threw it over to Australia, and Suffix unfortunately found a slider break right afterwards, and I think it was just enough to kind of even out those breaks at the ending. Man, Doomy with an outstanding score for Australia. I mentioned his name at the beginning, has been the kind of player that you think of on Australia that's been right up at the top with Emrek for the entire tournament. And, kind of continues to perform well through these matches. Canada, barely, and I feel like I could say that 100 more times, winning that pick. 9,000 points just on the back of, Zudinator and Xylus with the supporting combo. At the ending, being able to outscore Doomy on the no mod. I think, the real difference there was actually the fact that Zudinator was the one FC on the side of Team Canada with Hidden Hard Rock. That mod advantage really giving that extra score that they needed. Without that, they would not have won.
Yeah, that straight up just goes to Australia without the over mod. If Zudi's Hard Rock only or something like that, or Hidden only and somebody else's Hard Rock with the same score, Australia takes it. But the mod advantage, Hidden Hard Rock FC does it. And Canada is just going to continue in the same vein. They go Hidden 1 first pick, and they're going to go Hidden 3 second. Clearly, the strategy in play here for them, then they probably go like free mod 3 after this. They're trying to keep Australia off of their comfort picks, which are, the more mechanics tapping focus stuff. This one, flow aim, alt kind of map. Again, a Canada favored pick, but this one I think is a little bit harder to be super consistent on, because some of those patterns get really difficult in the ending, especially like you have the big space pattern and then the last Ki that are all really difficult. So we'll see how the players perform on those once they get there.
Yeah, looking for some good stuff on this match here. What was the, I think it was in China versus Romania, we saw some very good scores on this from players like David. And even then, I don't know if, did we see an FC on this one? Was this the one that Romania went to almost FCs on? I wasn't sure if it was this.
Badu had 2 misses at 1,500 plus combo, and David had a 1,300 combo. So those are both breaks in that last Ki section. No FCs, though Eternum did have an S rank. So we've seen some pretty good scores on this, but we've seen a lot of players struggling once they get to that really big diff spike at the end. That's the hardest section of this map. And it's been baring its teeth. So Hopefully, nobody gets snapped up.
Could be the consistency on this one too. The ending of this map is really the whole difficult part of it. You know, it's really surprising whenever you see someone going through this and then you hit that ending section and you see some combo on the board here. Not a bad alt roster from either side here. You've got Doomy and Emrek. I think that's going to be kind of a staple too that we're going to be seeing for this match for Australia. I got Mavs and LR7 in for the other two here. LR7's going to find a bit of an over-aim on that first cut stream pattern here, and Rupert is going to trade it on those back and forths. Very difficult to read with Hidden. They're so close together, but you do have to wiggle them if you don't want to experience the RNG of trying to middle like a singular pixel. But
it's one thing to do that Nomad, but with Hidden, it's like trying to play that sort of thing is really hard.
It's back and forth squares, perfect overlapping. Really, again, easy to miss some patterns in this map. It's such high intensity patterns. Like the entire map is just full of these very mechanically difficult patterns. You have to have your aim on lock for this type of thing. But we're a quarter of the way in. We've still only seen one break. Here's a pretty big key eye coming up right now, though.
This is where you start. This is where you really start to see that big difficulty increase in this map. LR7 is struggling here. I mean, not what you want to see. If you're going to see multiple breaks, I guess you'd rather them all be on one person, especially when Sari finds a miss for Canada, so that, you know, kind of helps trade things out. It's actually combo advantage Australia because Mavs has the FC and Rupert finds a break after already having found a break very early on. So you've got Xylis Zudinator against Doomy Emrek and Mavs. Mavs in for his first map, performing admirably here. This is what you really like to see out of some of those newer players to the roster who aren't in for as many picks. So, you know, if they can come in for their few maps and perform really well in them, that's going to be a huge boon, because you're always going to expect Doomy and Emrek to do well, but it's a lot more about the backing scores. And right now, backing scores are giving about a 17-20k lead to Australia at the halfway mark.
This is a good spot for them. Not going to say any specific players at the expense of potentially cursing somebody here, but Jordan seems to have found a little bit more of a comfortable spot in this map. Was definitely over-aiming the first kind of few high-velocity streams. Now looking a little bit better on this. Canada's got two players looking good. Xylis and Sudinator haven't really found too much trouble yet. Big difference on those two dropped combos, though. Like you were saying, if you want the misses, you want it on one player. Unfortunately for Canada, spreading it out a little bit here more than Australia. We're going to come into the last couple seconds of the map here. Mavs almost breaking, but Duke and Xylis are the ones to break.
And Sari as well, which is crucial for Australia to maintain their lead. Emrek matching Zudi. Mavs with the free combo as well as LR7. We come into the hardest part really here, this last quarter of the map, and Australia's put themselves in a very good spot. 200k in the lead. Emrek and Mavs holding the double FC down for the Australian boys. They
they hit the wiggle.
Trying to bring it home. They're hitting the wiggles, they're hitting the space, and they even hit that bigger space pattern into the last section. Mavs with the slider break. Oh, you hate to see it. It is still combo advantage Australia. It is still score lead Australia. This is pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered at this point. It's a shame to see Mavs with that late break, but we're going to come into the ending. It's going to be Emrek doing Emrek things. It's going to be LR7 doing LR7 things. And Zudinator, of course, doing everything in her power to keep Canada in this one, but it's going to end up falling just slightly short. And that is going to be breakpoint Australia. 2-1 goes the score, and they're picked next to get this back on track.
Good on them for that one there. Emrek starting to look a little bit more comfortable now, and it's evident that it's giving Canada more trouble than they had at the beginning. You know, they might need that early break point there, but now that it's evened out with that, they're going to have to be careful. Zudinator 3 for 3 on FCs right now for the Canadian team. I'm still stunned at that play from Mavs. If you looked at that one space stream kind of after the refrain there, Mavs started tapping it late and hit all 50s and 100s on there and did not break somehow. I don't know by what kind of divine intervention we just witnessed with that, but you know, it was a massive help in Australia winning that map by a larger margin, and Mavs and Emrek really bringing that one home there. Doomy with an impressive score as well, 645, even Jordan 637. That was just an amazing team performance from Australia there. Having no score below 600k in the semifinals is classified as a pretty top-tier team performance.
And off the back of that top-tier team performance, Australia saying, all right, it's time. We're going to unleash some tapping prowess. See how it goes. It's going to be DT2 as their next pick. This is 240 BPM, stamina-draining pick. Only AR10, so it's not going to challenge your reading, but it's going to definitely challenge your ability to tap consistently. Almost 3 minutes long. Very, very difficult. This is one of the higher starting maps in this pool overall. I think it's maybe the second highest starting map. Speed maps in 2022 starting system. But this is going to be an interesting spot to be in. So you've got Emrek, you've got Suffix, you've got Doomy, you've got LR7. Like, Australia just has such a good roster for this. If we think back to Canada versus South Korea, DT2, if they won it, they won that match 6-1. And they lose it, end up with a 5-2 lead, and it makes all the difference because they end up losing the match. So maybe taking a second thought about their roster and their performance on DT2 this week, because they want to lock this one in to avoid anything bad happening, because they do have a super strong speed roster that can definitely challenge Australia.
Yeah, something interesting to note for this time around is Canada does have Curtis. I think Curtis opted out of that DT map in the previous week, or I'm not sure what the entire story was, but Curtis ended up not playing. And that is, at least for Canada, one of the players that you kind of expect to see in on speed maps. That's what Curtis is on the team for, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, like Curtis is to Canada as, like, I don't know, Sawada is to the US. Like, that's what they're there for. They're meant for late stage speed. So the fact that Canada's at least rocking Curtis on the roster this year maybe feels a little, or on this match, they maybe feel a little bit better about, playing this type of map or style here. Obviously, you don't ever question certain players on speed. You never question Emrek on speed. You never question Jordan LR7 on speed. And you never question Doomy on speed for Australia. So you've got 3 players on the Australian roster right now that without a doubt can play this type of map. On the side of Canada, we've got Curtis, Ryuke, and Xylus. Nick is probably the weakest speed player that's currently on here, but Nick does have a very proficient tapping skill that most people don't have. Nick has, like, wild stamina at 220 plus, easily. So I guess the difference will be whether or not he's able to use that to maintain it. Jordan's struggling on the Acura, along with Suffix and Emrek. Actually,
it's really going to be about the combo more so than about the accuracy, especially with Nick finding that break. He was definitely the weak link on Canada's roster on DT2 last week when they played this, so we'll see how he can perform this match. That act gap is actually holding the lead for Canada. It should go over here eventually because that's a 300-plus combo lead. But man, everybody looking pretty proficient on this so far. This was, I think, kind of the concern you might have is that both of these teams are really good at speed, so you end up almost coin flipping a map like this because both sides are going to do so well on it. And that's kind of what's happening here so far, with it just dead in the middle thanks to the ACK lead that Canada's still holding on to.
Yeah, that's a big difference maker right now. Highest stack in the lobby currently held by Ryuke. I don't think anyone's surprised about that. Previous number 3 global, literally 4 playing DT speed. Emrek doing a good job holding up along with Jordan, Doomy, and Suffix. The entire Australian roster just looking so controlled right now. This breaks from Nick, unfortunate. Holding pretty decent accuracy, though. They're really just looking for a break from Australia, but that score gap is just getting slightly wider as the map progresses. And there's a break from Curtis. And
Suffix does trade it, so does Doomy. Okay, wait a sec. So this is 2v2 here, and there goes Emrek. It's now 2v1. Canada brings this back. Xylus and Ryuke look so comfortable. Xylus and Ryuke looking so comfortable. 98.37, 99.1 on Ryuke. This is going to go over to Canada, and this is a big, big break point for them to steal if they can hold on just another couple seconds. This is worst case scenario on a map like this for Australia. They really can't afford to lose this kind of map in this fashion.
Oh my gosh, that tragic set of breaks from Australia all at the same spot. There was Jordan LR7 too. They just lost all all of their FCs in like the last quarter of the map, and Canada maintains on 2 players. Nick 1324 with a recovery at the ending as well, just adding insult to injury on that one, putting up the 600k. It's a 3-way S rank from Canada. And
One total miss. One total miss.
Look at that ack on Ryuke.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's what Canada was missing on their team last year, right? Was literally Ryuke. His late stage skill cap is so high, especially on maps like this. He just comes out and does stuff, and you go, okay, yep, that's normal Ryuke things. He's 99.27 AC FCs the DT2.
Not fair.
Nobody else over 98.6, I think was next highest on Curtis, but had the break, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, the act difference kind of tells the story by itself, and then when you throw in, the 2 FC to none, well, that was just Canada taking a point in the way that they know how on a map like that. And now breakpoint advantage goes back their way 3-1 with their own pick to come. Hidden pool is done, so Australia can breathe a sigh of relief that they don't have to deal with another hidden map, but there's still free mod 3, there's still free mod 4. So Canada's got the options if they want to go into some of those more gimmicky picks again, or if they want to start going somewhere else.
I want to see free mod 3. I don't know about you. I absolutely love the song and map. I think they're both awesome. But in terms of what I think Canada's interested in picking here, they won Magmel. They just got that DT, and they were able to pull through on the previous free mod pick. So maybe going in for free mod again. It's a little bit different of a style of map. Some awkward stuff. They do go for free mod 4, not free mod 3, however. It's going to be down diff. down by down diff. Down.
Map by down.
Map by down. Down by down. Down. White down by down.
Have we said down enough times? Do you think everybody understands what's going on here?
The difficulty name is down, by the way.
The artist name is down. The song name is down. The difficulty name is down, and it's mapped by, you guessed it, down.
Are you down? I'm down for down. Are we down for some down?
I'm down for downtown.
I'm down for downtown.
It's time to get down to business. So it is awkward rhythm, because of course it is. If anybody who's familiar with any down song that they've seen, whether ranked or it's tournament custom or whatever, knows what they're getting into with these types of maps. This one is a little more accessible than some that you might see in these super late rounds, often no mod 6 in community tournaments, where they tend to be a little bit harder than this one. But instead, tone down the difficulty a little bit and tone up the mod requirements, because hidden and hard rock on this are both very difficult. You put accuracy at a premium, you put reading at a premium, and Canada has been saying, give us all of the gimmick maps, give us all of the hidden reading, give us everything awkward, and we're just going to eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're going to hope to do that again here.
Well, I think Canada, they're down for some free mod. They looked really good on free mod 1 earlier, and I think if they're able to maintain that mod consistency across the board here, it's going to be a big thing for them here to potentially go up 4-1. And
we're switching things up a little bit here for Australia. You've got Arbusion coming in for his first map, going hidden hard rock. They're dropping the hidden only onto Mavs. Meanwhile, Doomy and Emmerich going the no mod. So this is kind of the carries on no mod strat instead of the carries on mod strat, as opposed to what Canada's doing, where they're putting Zunator on her preferred HDHR, Xylus on his preferred hidden, with Yip and Nick in on the no mod. So kind of two different approaches to a free mod pick from the teams. We'll see which one works out better. So far, it's felt like Canada has the advantage on these mod type of maps and these awkward types of maps, and we'll see if that continues.
I'm excited to see how these two hidden hard rock players perform on this pick. It's very difficult in terms of the aim control mixed in with these rhythm changes and the finger control required on these down songs here. So the fact that Arbusion's accuracy is as high as it is right now is stunning to me. Like, Zudinator is what you expect to see from hidden hard rock players. Oh, but there's a miss from Arbusion, traded with Xylus there. Doomy did find one earlier on the no mod. It's not going to be working in Canada, or it's not going to be working in Australia's favor here at the beginning, but this map gets a lot harder towards the end, man.
Now you've got 3-2. Oh, Zudi? What was that?
Slider break? Was that a slider break?
I'm not actually sure. Well,
it helps Australia. That's what I'm sure about.
Yeah, they did end up with another break on Arbusion at about the same time, but that's really not as big a deal as Zudinator's break. She finds another miss, not having the greatest time, so Hidden Hard Rock not paying off, and it is still Mavs and Emrek holding down the FCs. There goes Mavs. So Emrek on the lone FC. Doomy backing him up, though, 520 combo, but there goes Emrek. You can't afford that. You cannot have a Nomad break on a map like this with Yip and Nick still holding FCs and Xyli's backing them up.
And Zudinator struggling so much, but the team performance from Canada is really helping out right now. The two Nomads on Canada, they're doing exactly what they need to be doing right now. You come in, you have the advantage of playing an awkward free mod like this, unhindered, no hard rock, no hidden, and they're ready to go right now. Doomy just with the early break at the beginning, holding combo ever since. Mavs is only on a slider break too, but it's not going to be enough. Double FC to no FCs, even with the supporting combos. Xylis is matching the next best player on Australia right now. Zudinator pretty much matching Emrek.
This is just sort of the kind of performance that you can't afford to have if you're Australia trying to steal a breakpoint on one of these picks. Only having one FC, or not even FC, only having one big combo against a double FC. I mean, what is there to say? This is just another really solid performance from Canada. And they're able to do it on these very tricky, gimmicky picks as well as more mechanics type of maps. So showing off just how well-rounded they are as a roster, which puts the fear of God into anybody that they're facing, not the least of which is Australia. That's a double FC on the semifinals free mod 4 with Yip and Nicholas 1,324, both at 97.3 plus AC. I know it's Nomad, but that's still pretty impressive.
Yeah, if you know this type of song and this type of map, it is very, very good AC across the board there for Canada as well. Really just Zudinator on the Hidden Hard Rock having some trouble there. Arbusion doing pretty good for himself, 95% AC there. 3 misses, pretty much matching Zudinator spot on their higher combo, though, given that 600k. Doomy just with the 1 miss at the beginning, the reverse choke. And Canada, almost a 600,000 score gap and a 3 million plus team score, really proving why they are feared in this tournament if they're having a good week here, because they scale and they're good at these multiple skill sets that are thrown throughout these maps here. In Australia, they're still having a hard time, trying to respond to this. You've got at least one player on Canada per map putting up an FC. On most of these maps, you really haven't seen somebody responding from Australia. Some maybe close on one, but there's really not that guaranteed FC from them. They're going to go in for Nomad 2, however.
Nah, you do not pick Nomad 2 against Canada. You do not pick Nomad 2 against Canada.
No. I see this working out for them. I see this, bro. This is like they're going to get in Canada's heads. Canada is thinking right now. They're like, oh my god, Nomad 2. We have 3 dumb good stream players on our roster. There's no way we can lose this. And then the second one of them misses, it's over. They're like, oh my god, I missed. Australia's going to win this pick, and then they get in their own heads. The only problem with this description is that requires Canada to miss.
Yeah, I like the positivity you've got coming out here. I really like the attitude. You want to see a competitive match. You want to see something interesting here. But I'm pretty sure picking Nomad 2 into Canada in semifinals is just inting, unless you are Germany, perhaps. This is like their playground, right? You've got a couple of the best stream players in the world on that team. Like, regardless of how good Australia might be on it, I really don't see this as being an optimal pick in this scenario. Especially people saying, no map for Emrek and stuff. If he didn't practice, there's some patterns in this map that you want to know. There's a couple of the little slider streams and such. You want to know those are there. You want to have played this. So, I don't know. This is a scary one. I think I would have rather seen DT3 if Australia wanted to go tapping here.
Yeah, I'm a little scared for this one. Without a doubt, this is the type of thing where it's like, almost like a last resort pick, if I could describe it like that, for Australia. Like, there's no way you look at previous scores in other weeks from Canada and go, oh yeah, Nomad 2, that's a great pick. Like, super confident, ready to go. Because I think regardless of how good you are at Nomad 2, you're going to be very contested on this pick. It's almost like picking a Nomad 1 in round of 16. Like, you can be so good at that type of map, but yeah, you'll miss sometimes. And I think this is going to be kind of a similar scenario where, you know, Australia, by no means are they not a strong Nomad 2 team. They have very good stream players on this roster. But you're almost counting for, like, that one miss from Canada that you'd see on a Nomad 1, where, you know, you hope that they shit this somewhere. Like that's the first one from Nick, exactly what I'm talking about.
There's that, yeah, you just slightly miss aim on one of those flow patterns and get a break. I was looking, you know, interested at the results from last week, and Canada or Australia played Nomad 2 twice last week. They got the 9th and 10th score, best scores out of 18. So really middle of the pack, which is not exactly confidence inspiring, but the way this is starting out is certainly fine for them. A few hundred combo advantage with that break from Nick. A lot of map to go though. 2 minutes long is all, but it's got a ton of combo, especially in the back half. We'll see. They gotta hold this 4-way though, and they're not gonna do it. It's Suffix, but it's traded. It is traded with Silas.
That was a big trade right there. That's some good act lost for Canada for some not as good act lost for Australia. So still pretty even loss here. You're really looking for the step up from these remaining players in Australia. Suffix with a massive chain miss. Oh, that's a lot of score lost for Australia, but it won't matter if they... Oh, no! Oh, wait. Double break from Canada!
This is just going back and forth. Nobody wants to hold on to an advantage here, but Emrek and Jordan LR7 are doing what they need to. There goes Nick as well. It's just Ryuke against the world, and Emrek and Jordan LR7 both held through there. I think it's going to happen. I think Australia is going to take it. Some really strange, uncharacteristic misses from Canada, and some absolutely solid performances. LR7 finally a late break. Will that be enough for Canada to try to make a comeback? No, it will not. Emrek drops the casual sight read FC, matching Ryuke, who had, what is that, like 300s? That is ludicrous accuracy. That is, I mean, that's like what that's 500s, similar to what he did hop hacking lobby on DT2, but just a better team-wide score from Australia. And so despite everything we had to say, they still managed to come away with the victory. They really needed that, and they got it.
It's the consistency map Gambit. This map has some of the, you see those accelerating stream patterns where they get really spaced and, you know, at 200 BPM. While it can be comfortable to tap, it's pretty easy to let nerves get the best of you in these OWC matches. And if you don't aim perfectly to those streams, you will find a chain miss. And, you know, we saw some of it with Suffix. We saw a little bit of it with Nick at the beginning of the map. You know, Nick was able to recover. Suffix was kind of struggling just a little bit more towards the ending of the map. But Double FC makes the difference there. That unfortunate miss from Rupert towards the ending just coming a little too early for Canada. They were only behind 184,000 on that pick. Australia, they are right back into the swing of things right now. It's going to be Nomad 4 pick coming out of Canada. They've proven to be very good at these tech maps in previous weeks. This map is... Oh, how do I describe this? It's not as technically intensive, I would say, as other weeks' tech picks. And I know that sounds weird to say, but there is a lot of flow aim involved in the Nomad 4 this week. And that could prove to be a little bit useful for Canada because we saw a lot of breaks from Australia earlier today on some picks that involved cut streams and flowing between patterns. And this map has a hell of a lot of that. So unless we have seen some sort of like shift from Australia going into this pick here, this is going to be pretty favored to Canada right off the bat, just given map style.
We'll see. I don't... It's hard to know what to expect out of Australia on Nomad 4. It's not a map slot that they typically play a ton of, right? Like, they played 2 matches last week. They played 18 maps total and didn't play the Nomad 4 at all. Canada, meanwhile, was the top scorer on last week's. Like you said, though, this one a little more tapping heavy in lieu of kind of the super difficult slider aim. Who's the tech? You know, it's interesting because like there are certain teams, right, that you think of and you look at players on their roster and you're like, oh, they're a tech player. Like, you know, United States has Taquito and Fancy Lad, for instance. Yeah. Who do you look at on these two rosters and go, oh, that's a tech player?
You know, I'm gambling on Mavs. I'm gambling on the new guy. I bet he's gonna go on this one.
He went on Hidden 3, so I mean, who's to say he won't? You know, he comes in for his specific maps and does well on them.
Yeah, anything Mavs is in for, he's generally pretty good at. Obviously, the eyes have to be on MREC, like, at some point. You know, when does he get warm? When does the MREC that we all know can show up kick in for Australia? You know,
to be fair, he did just FC the want to.
Exactly.
He did do that.
He looks really good on mechanics maps, which is something I think that, like, when you hit the level of MREC, you can kind of play, you know, a little bit earlier on, but like, is he ready for these more complex patterns yet? And that's a difference maker for Australia here on this pick, because they need someone who can contest the tech roster of Canada right now. But obviously this early start, not going to be too much happening right now. We're going to get right into it. You can kind of see what I mean. It's a little flowier. You've got these cut patterns in here, and it's going to be Ryuke to over-aim one of the beginning when Xylus gets slow slidered.
Oh, you hate to see that. And here we get more cut patterns. These are so difficult. But everybody's looking pretty solid. Nobody breaking at all in this section so far. Now we can do a little heavier slider aim, and you just amp up that difficulty. And there goes Yip. That's a slider break. That's going to leave Canada with only the one FC. Zudinator, of course. Who else would it be? She is their carry on basically everything. And here she goes again on her own. But it's a quad FC for Australia.
What is? Oh my God! The slider break.
The first break. And Suffix falls immediately after.
This is not the section where you're supposed to be breaking, Australia. This is the slider in.
This is the section where
very difficult.
This is the section where Canada's building up their combo on all of their players. Zudi still holding that FC. It's Mavs and MREC against the world. All right, so about that MREC needing to be MREC thing, I think he's kind of doing that here. That is holding an FC into this middle part with 98 AC. That's really impressive.
Through that slider section with Scorby 2 is so challenging. Definitely showing up. And then, you know, there's the other FC on the board for Australia I mentioned at the beginning. Keep your eyes out. Keep your eyes peeled. It's Zudinator and Ryuke to try and bring this back to the Canadian side right here, but they're not going to be able to do anything unless we see a break from Australia. And it's going to be Xylus breaking again. But it's a three-way.
It's Suffix, Mavs, and Doomy all breaking MREC, the only FC left for Australia. Meanwhile, you've got Zudi holding the FC down. You've got Ryuke on a 950 combo and Yip on a 400 combo as well. That lead is just going to rocket over to Canada's side. This gets really scary now. A quarter of the map left to go and nobody from Canada breaking. That lead immediately 100,000 points in no time at all.
No way we're going to see. One of these two FCs has to break. There's just no way. What?
This is what you get when you throw some of the best tournament players in the world at a semifinals pool. MREC capable of pulling off ridiculous FCs anywhere. Zudinator, one of the most consistent players out there.
There's no way they hit the other.
They're just both hitting all this.
This is disgusting.
They're just both hitting all this. They don't care. No,
I'm disgusted.
This is abnormal. Yep, okay, they double FC'd. MREC Zudinator bringing home the FCs, but it's a 400,000 point win for Canada nonetheless because the backing scores were just way better. Mavs held for so long and then just did not have a great time in the back half. Suffix and Doomy really could never get into that one. And now 5-2 Canada with several match points. This is the danger scoreline. They were up 5-2 last week against South Korea, and we all know how that turned out. So if Australia has any solace, if there's any consolation to be found in the scoreline, it's knowing that Canada was at the same position last week and ended up losing.
Well, if there's any consolation, it's to hoping that Xylus isn't sight reading everything like he was potentially on this one there. That slow slider in the 400k, very uncharacteristic from him on the side there. So Australia may be looking for in there potentially. Suffix had a lot of trouble on that map there. That was kind of an unfortunate scenario where it seemed like just fill a little bit for that fourth player. You know, sub 300k, always hate to see it. MREC with the score, you know, we mentioned Canada's overall consistency today as a team, and it's looking so good across the board. Australia unwavering in their DT picks here. Gonna try and go for this DT3. looking pretty good on this one. Zudinator not too happy about this pick, which is good for Australia. If you can take her out for a map, then at least it guarantees you that one of those strong scores are not up there. You know, you do have the flip side of now you have to deal with Ryuke, but
yeah, Ryuke has been so scary on his maps in this match so far. Like the accuracy right on DT2 and Nomadzu top scoring those, really incredible stuff from him. And is he not even in for this? There's no way he's not in for this with Zudinator in, right? Like, Ryuke made his name playing DNB DT. That is why he is where he is in the game.
I'm telling you right now, if Ryuke is not in for this, I'm going to be stunned, because I really wanted to see the Ryuke Jordan LR7 DNB face off right here. This is a better pick for Australia, I think, than DT2 was. I think Australia kind of caters a little bit more towards the style of DT than we see in DT2. So this is it's gonna be a Doomy substitution for Suffix on that. I do like that substitution. Yeah. I do like that substitution. I am just all right. Good lucks are coming out. Ryuke is not playing this. I think we saw this in a previous week as well. Ryuke did not play a DT for Canada because he was like uncomfortable on the map or something. And I wonder if we actually just like have the same case on this, where Australia just finally happens to pick the one DT that Ryuke unfortunately is not able to play, and it might give them an in on this map here, potentially. We always joke about Zudinator not being a speed player, but she's pretty proficient at some of this type of stuff. So, I wouldn't count her out as a potential dangerous player on this, but you're definitely looking a lot less strong as a DT roster for Canada without Ryuke, regardless. And that's just based on Ryuke's skill rather than the possible substitutions here.
Well, we will see how it goes. Every point now for the rest of the match is a must-win scenario for Australia. If there's one thing to be said about Zudinator being in for this, is that she is amazing at comboing stuff, even if it may be a little faster, a little high AR, or whatever, for what you would expect her normal comfort level to be. She's capable of doing pretty ridiculous things when the situation calls for it. It's an early break from Xylus, though. That's not what you want to see if you're Canada. Australia, though, going to be very pleased. And we have an early lead. I wonder if, like, the aim component of this, like, there's a little bit of aim to it, if Ryuke was worried about that. It's traded breaks for LR7 and Curtis, though. Going to derail that train of thought.
Yeah, this map is so difficult with the speed and the finger control required for this. You've got to have such a command of this BPM, and there goes Doomy. It's 2 FCs to, I would say, almost 3 right now for Canada. It's going to start to go back to their side, especially with this little refrain section here coming after that quicker finger control bit here. You start to kind of fall back to just doubles and bursts rather than... Yeah, and here's another hard part. Nick1324 drops alongside Doomy. That's going to help Australia out a little bit more.
Yeah, it is Emrek, Milo with those FCs, and LR7 with a solid backing combo. Zudinator, because of course she is, in for this, and the only FC remaining for Canada. To sort that one out, the logic of it escapes me, but she's just good at the game, so who cares? Xylus and Curtis do have solid backing combos, so if Australia finds a couple of misses in the back half of this pick, it will be opportunity for Canada. This is by no means over yet. Only 100k separates the squads. But as long as those FCs hold for Australia, and as long as LR7 can hold onto that backing combo, they're going to be in an okay spot.
You're really just looking on the side of Canada, hoping for a break out of Australia. Unfortunately, you continue to see a few breaks here on Nick1324, just struggling a little bit more towards the latter half of this map. Xylus with an early break. This is something he's consistent at. He won't break at the ending. But there is a break from Milo. But there's a big supporting combo on Jordan LR7 now. If we see a singular break from Canada, this will stay on the side of Australia right now, but we do need to see it.
Oh boy. It's Nick1324 with the break, but it's still right at the middle. I mean, it
could hold it off, though.
This could go over there. LR7 breaks late in the back. That could be enough for Canada. They've got Zudinator still holding down the FC. They've got Xylus and Curtis on the back combo. Curtis with the late break. Zudi with the late break as well. Emrek can bring this one back alongside Doomy for Australia. He breaks too, but it's a full reset for Canada, and they have nothing left to try to bring this back in the ending. Doomy with the 900 combo and Milo with 470 are going to be enough to seal the point for Australia. That came down to the wire about as much as any map ever could, but Australia just hanging on for a 109,000 point win to stave off elimination for at least one more point.
Oh my gosh, the breaks at the ending. Wow. That's a situation. I don't like that. I'm not okay with this. This is not okay. Milo Milkshake only with a slider break at that 1200 combo mark, almost giving that into Canada there, was able to recover and FC the entire remainder of the map. Emrek matching against Zudinator. It's just barely a difference. The most minuscule.
Worth noting, with discussing Emrek versus Zudinator on that map, Emrek had 1% plus better accuracy. When the score gap comes down to 100k at the end, every little bit counts, and he had, in addition to the combo, he had the accuracy advantage, so it does help a little bit more.
It was like almost all of that lead, that's 82,000 score on that alone. That is a majority of that score lead. Really looking for some good, strong performances on the momentum for Australia now. They only have to win one of Canada's picks to get right back into this, but it's going to have to be Fremod 3. We mentioned it earlier. This was, kind of the pick that I thought they would go for before Fremod 4. But they're going to go for it now, and, I wonder if they saved it because it was kind of like their ace in the hole. Like, I genuinely wonder if this is just the type of pick that they saved for, possible worst-case scenario. Like, because if you're in Canada in this position, if you lose your own pick, Australia goes to their own pick and potentially forces you on tiebreaker, which is a situation that, after last week, Canada wants to avoid pretty heavily. So, even if the tiebreaker was favored to them, the pressure of being in that situation 2 weeks in a row is so high. So, if Canada was good at this Fremod 3 and they ended up just saving it as a confident pick, that would make a lot of sense. Does Canada plan that far ahead? We don't know. But I would like to assume.
Yeah, they had their picks pretty planned out. I mean, obviously the Nomad 4 went well, the Fremod 4 went well. The Hidden 3 was a surprising victory on that break point for Australia, but this goes back to the roots of what we kind of started off the match with, right? When we saw, the Hidden pick, and then a little later on we went Rhythm pick. So Canada focusing away from the raw mechanics and into something that requires a little bit more of a rounded skill set. And again, going back to Fremod, which they've won both Fremods that have been played. This is the third and final that will be possible in this match. I feel like Canada just has a superior Fremod roster in this matchup.
I am hoping that Australia has like something up their sleeve on this Fremod pick right here, because given the trends of this match so far, Canada's really good at free mods. They have the mod capabilities, they have the consistency, they have the team performance. It's all the makings of a perfect free mod roster. And Australia, they've had one or two people that have been pretty good at these maps so far, and you're really looking for maybe just a little bit more than that.
You got to be better than just like decent.
They've got to give, if what they've been giving is 100%, they've got to give 120. They need a little more.
Yeah, they got to find that boost. I mean, the Fremod 1, right, came down to the last second. 9,000 points came down to the spinner. But the Fremod 4 straight up just did not go well for Australia. So they got to really go back towards. I think, yeah, and this is kind of expected because it is that slightly lower approach rate, and if you're comfortable with sort of precision, I mean, it's CS 6.5 with Hard Rock. which Canada is, you can afford to do this. So Xylas back on the hidden only, Zudi back on the hidden hard rock, Ryuke this time in for a hard rock as well. Overmod, it worked out. It's working out for them typically. There's a lot of situations for Canada where overmodding works out just because they have players who are so comfortable in these mods, and I think this is probably no exception. The reading of this gets kind of nullified when you get to go hard rock, and not starting off well for Australia here either, with Milo and Mavs both breaking early on.
Yeah, not at all. We saw Milo on the hard rock earlier with the free mod, hoping maybe just a little bit more comfortable here. It's definitely something Milo is normally good at. You're not looking at pretty stellar act from Doomy and Emrek either on those hidden and no mod combos here. So a lot of the score gap being given up by that accuracy right now, actually more so than those misses, just because of how long this map is. You've got a lot of hard rock on the side of Canada, and you're trading a lot of the reading for a lot of precision requirement, which on Devious Panda maps is normally a pretty bad idea. With this type of thing, I'm not quite as worried because I think this map is slightly less mechanical favored, but as I'm speaking, Australia is just missing on multiple players. Emrek finding that drop is not good for them on top of the Mavs break. It's now Doomy on the only FC remaining for Australia in the first quarter of the map.
I was going to say, like, is there a worse scenario to be in than playing a 4.5 minute long free mod and having it be over a minute in, and you just have to continue playing the rest of the map anyway?
Yeah, like you have to now hope for Canada to break.
Yeah, like if you're Australia, you are on your knees praying to whatever god you may believe in that Canada just suffers severe dysfunction in the last half of this map, because clearly what you're doing is not enough to win. You're going to need some divine intervention here if you're Australia, because Canada still has a three-way FC and Australia just has nothing behind the... They have two combos and the other two are just not having fun at all.
I mean, I guess if you're looking at this in a positive light for Australia, you do have all of these breaks from Emrek being traded out by Zudinator. Oh, and there goes Doomy. All right, well, there's not as much to look forward to on Australia now. That is the last FC gone. Milo on the hard rock is definitely better to have the full combo because you do have that hard rock multiplier towards the ending, but that's not going to make the difference of 500k. It's going to make 50k.
When you're and let's face it here, it's 500k halfway through a 4.5 minute long map.
Canada all missed this build-up. Canada are going to all miss this build-up.
Literally, Canada has to full reset right now for Australia even to have an outside chance.
I can see it. I'm watching. I'm looking for it right now. It's going to happen.
Or Xylas will just troll the spinner again or something. This is a really good team performance from Canada. This is stuff that Australia just doesn't have a way of matching. And Canada is performing to expectations on this map. This is why they pick into these free mods so much. This is why they go into, some of these more reading-focused maps, because they can put in a roster that does things like this, where they're holding a three-way FC into the last quarter of the map with the match at a match point in their favor. All of the stress and all of the nerves that come from that, needing to close it out to avoid your opponents getting their last pick. All of that is on their shoulders, and they're still putting up a score like this. That Rupert break doesn't even end up mattering.
That might though, Ryuke.
No, Milo breaks. Mavs has a 730 combo. It's 600k. This is just Canada firing on all cylinders.
Well, if you look at the good news, he broke. I was gonna say Emrek finally pushed above 200k. Australia, just like as a team on this one, are not having a good time. I don't actually know what's happening with Emrek right now. He's at 91% accuracy. When the best player on your team is struggling this much, it really is just not a good sign for Australia. Xylas is just gonna kind of finish this one out in style here. Doesn't need Zudinator, doesn't need Rupert, doesn't need Ryuke into the ending here. Really just gonna find a miss on the last set of streams. So he's not happy.
Rage cursor.
He's not happy. Yeah.
He was very displeased about that one.
This isn't a good hidden FC. Oh, he's so mad.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's a 1,000,000-point win to close out the match. Australia just had no answers to how well-rounded Canada's roster was in this match. All three of the free mods that were played going Canada's way, the hidden one going Canada's way. There just wasn't anything that Australia could do on those picks. They did not have the rosters for them. They did not have the players for them. And Canada was just able to exert their will and take the match 6-3 and advance onward into the next round here in losers bracket. Australia will be going home in that 9th through 12th. it's an unfortunate situation to end up in, but somebody's got to be there, and it's them.
Very tragic scenario. You know, we talked about this at the beginning of the match a little bit. You've got a 4th and 6th seed matchup in the losers bracket of the semifinals. That's just not something that you see all too often. And, you know, unfortunate as it is, it means we say goodbye to some very good teams very early on. Fortunately for Canada, they are not one of those teams. They are able to survive through one more match. They're not through the weekend yet, but after taking that loss in the winners bracket, they're looking a heck of a lot better this weekend. They'll be facing off against the 9th seeded Hong Kong in approximately 20 minutes.
Yeah, they did something crazy to themselves here, man. I don't know about that one.
Well, let's see if they can duplicate the performance that they just put up. Because they're certainly gonna need it. Hong Kong looking so strong against Indonesia earlier.